Hey YouTube, Alex here with Alex's Agamids, and so in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how I set up an Animal Plastics A35 enclosure. I'm aware there are a ton of videos on YouTube regarding Animal Plastics products. However, considering that this is their largest arboreal enclosure by length, there really aren't a ton of people showing how to build it sort of step by step with the different pieces that come with it. With that being said, I hope you find this video helpful. If you're looking to buy this cage, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so the audio is going to be awful here because I don't have my mic plugged in, but we've taken out the 40 breeder. We're going to take these out so that we have all this floor space to construct the Animal Plastics cage. Right, so for this part, the Animal Plastics cage suggests that you start with one side, left or right, it doesn't matter, and you screw the bottom panel directly to the side panel. And so that's what we're doing here. We're aligning the screws. There's a nice little groove that fits up and it all comes together. So we have the left side piece and we are about to screw the right side piece on. As you can see, the way these cages come together, there are grooves where each piece meets each end. So the back piece will slide into this groove evenly. There was a groove that forms a smooth, tight bond as soon as you screw it in on the sides, which you can see on this end right here for the right side. Pretty much this ensures it all comes together quick and easy with screws. And so as the instructions said, start with one side. We're now going to do the next side, and then you will see what happens after that. So here we are screwing the other side. Pretty straightforward, but figure we just get it on video for you guys to see. It may be difficult to see, which we didn't show on the left side, but the screws fit directly into this groove, just like that. And so you can see this groove right here is where the front panel will go on. And now we will attach the back panel. For the back panel, it was kind of tricky because you now have to flip the unit on its side. Since this is their largest arboreal model, this was tricky for my father and I screwing this together. So we actually had to rotate the entire enclosure along this other part of my wall. As you can see though, once the cage is aligned, the back panel sits right on there, and then it's just a matter of getting the screws in. One of the things that I personally really liked about what Animal Plastics did for this model is you can see there's two separate vents in the middle of the back, and that's because I chose to have a divider. And that way, if I want to separate the lizards later, I can, and I still get plenty of airflow.
What are these grooves for?
If I wanted to put belly heat on here, that's where your thermostat probe goes. Okay. So you can attach, like say, a FlexWatt heat pad, run your Herpstat sensor into this, so that way it doesn't move. And that ensures the cage floor stays warm, but we're not keeping snakes in this. So here we have my father drilling in the screws that will connect the bottom piece to the back and front piece. All right, my dad and I, we turned the cage, did some playing around to get it back upright. So you can see this is the front panel. Now what we're gonna do is we have some space behind here before the cage goes flush against the wall, and each of these grooves in the back right here are going to allow for two basking ledges that'll sit exactly 14 inches from the top, where we will have our UVB and heating lights. Pieces that hold the ledges are installed. Pretty much what happens is that these sit comfortably like so. The ledges usually sit at the halfway mark. However, since this is a 4-foot tall cage and water dragons being a species that need UV lighting, I have it actually set so from the top of the cage where we will have the lighting installed, it'll be around 14 inches from the lizard to the light. So that way the animal has maximum UVB penetration and of course options for ample bask. For lighting, to ensure that all of the humidity and heat stays retained, we are mounting all of our lights on the inside. Pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running a Zilla 25-watt mini halogen bulb and a Zilla mini halogen dome. And then I have these two Vivarium Electronics T5 high output fixtures. In the 3-foot one running completely across the cage, we will be running a Zoomed Reptile 10% T5 high output UVB bulb. And then in this fixture, we just have a 6.4K bright LED light. And so this will ensure that the lizard is getting heat, UVB, and the highest amount of visible light that this species needs. And so we're gonna reflect this on each side of the 6-foot unit. One thing that I want to note is that the screws that come with the Vivarium Electronics fixtures are too long for the 1/2-inch PVC, so we're only using 3/8 inch screws in these little clips that you see right here. But then once you get those screws installed, they are still held tightly in place. There's no issue with the fixtures being too heavy or falling out. Just align them up like here, and then the fixture snaps right in. And as you can see right here, this is the finished product with the light setup: heat, UVB, and bright intense UVA. So here my father and I are putting the top piece of the enclosure on the unit. One thing I want to make note of is that we had to take a drill where the back panel meets the top panel, and what we did is we made small grooves that the cords could easily fit through. That just ensures there's no stress on the wires and that everything runs smoothly when everything is all said and done and screwed down. Alrighty guys, so all of it is screwed together. The last thing that we want to do is make sure we apply the silicone that Animal Plastics provides us. Pretty much what you want to do, and so this is the right side of the cage, is you want to apply a thin bead, and I apologize if it's echoey since I'm literally having to lean inside this enclosure, and you just apply a thin beam around, and then I like to have a rubber glove, smush it so that way the silicone goes into the seam, and that'll ensure that this cage stays waterproof. This is super important in my case because, again, we are using this for water dragons. This is a species that needs high humidity and constant misting. Thus, I really want to make sure there is no way that water seeps out. So this process is pretty easy. You just take a thin bead right along the edge and you smear it into place. Alrighty guys, so there's the cage in its glory next to my current water dragon enclosure. This is the new A35. So what's most likely going to happen, excuse the noise, I have to have my windows open. After sealing it with silicone, you have to let it dry. So that's why I'm having my lights running. We're gonna give it a week, 2 weeks, until you cannot smell any of that sealant. But the idea is that once it is odorless, the lizard can go in. For now, I'm just going to use it for my single male Chinese water dragon. Since this cage will hold humidity better in the long run, I might move my pair in here and then use the 4x2 for like Australian water dragons, or use it to grow out a sailfin. So there's a lot of options as far as future agamids, but this is definitely going to be the highlight of my water dragon keeping career. So once again, I do apologize if the audio sounds kind of crappy. Like I said, I just don't have the mic plugged into the camera right now. But here is the finished product. I'm actually filming this clip a few days later because I wanted to make sure, of course, that all the temperatures were correct. Humidity, I know, is not going to be an issue with this cage. Like I said, this is going to be used for a Chinese water dragon, so they like really high humidity. And when you have a cage like this that only has venting on the sides and the back and no screen sections at all, it'll maintain that 80% relative humidity no problem. As you can see, I've got it decked out with some big cork bark branches and some foliage. There is a water basin down right there. This is the final product of the Animal Plastics A35 cage. Definitely expect a video next year reviewing how it's held up. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the support on the channel. This has been Alex of Alex's Agamids, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and adios.